Hello everyone, I'm Linda from Purple Rose Digital, and in this video I will show you how to make this mini journal in this beautiful ice and butterfly theme. Okay, so we'll start with the cover, and I'm going to do my trick I like to use and just flip it around on my paper to get those guidelines. And I'm going to score the two spines. And of course you can do it the way that you want, but this is just my way of getting a nice straight line on the correct place. And now we're going to fold it, flatten those folds and fold into a box shape. So you've got mini papers, and I'm just going to choose one and cut it out, and then I'm going to glue the cover flat onto the mini paper. Just space it however you feel it will look good. And remember, not all of the pattern on the mini paper is going to show, because you're going to be gluing your mini journal onto your cover. So just make sure you get your glue all the way to the edges and over the spines. You don't want your paper coming off when you're using your little journal. So just glue that nice and flat wherever you feel like it will look nice on the print of that mini paper. And if you're using a glue stick or a wet type of glue, just make sure you're going to let this dry very well so that your paper is on there as good as it can be before you try and fold or work with it in any way. Otherwise you are going to have your paper coming off of the cardstock part of the cover. I'm just going to use a weight. That always helps to just get the glue on properly. And now we can do the journal pages. So I'm going to pre-fold them using my guidelines again. This actually just helps so much when you're folding your journal later on. So don't mind that it's in the wrong direction on some of them. That little pre-fold just helps so much when you're folding your book into accordion, back and forth, folding the pages back and forth to get your pages as straight and aligned as possible. Okay, I'm going to cut them into strips and arrange them. You see, I've printed mine on backing paper. You don't have to do that, but I do find it very helpful to hide any white that might stick out from, not folding it properly and so on. So we're going to join the free strips. We're going to join the first one to the second one by using that glue flap only, and then the second one to the third strip, and make one long strip. So now we can start folding, and you'll see it's really easy if you did that pre-fold. So on this design we don't really use the glue flaps so much. That first flap that looks like a page, so you can actually cut the last one off if you want, but the first one I'm going to keep because it makes for a nice little cover in the front of the book. So you can just go and fold your page strips accordion style, back and forth, back and forth. And if you do see a bit of a misalignment somewhere, you can adjust it and just make sure you've got your spine side aligned as straight as possible, and you don't have any pages sticking out way further than the others. Then your book should look pretty neat. Okay, so now we can glue all the back sides together. Just make sure you're not gluing your front sides together. So there where my backing paper is where I'm going to glue. Yours might be white if you didn't glue on, print on backing paper, which will probably be easier to recognize. But as you can see, this is my backing paper, and I'm starting with the first glue flap, and in this design I'm gluing that. I'm not using that to glue onto the cover, but I'm just gluing it onto the first page. And I'm just going to carry on gluing all the backs of the pages together. Make sure you don't get any glue in between your pages, and just wipe off any excess if you're using a glue stick or a wet glue, because that can really make your pages stick together where you don't want them to. So this part is quite messy. I always get glue everywhere, but I do try my best just to keep it away from the print side of the pages. And make sure you place your glue all the way up to the edges so that your pages don't come loose once you start using your journal. So now we can sort of see what it's going to look like, and I'm just going to use my weight to let that dry properly. Okay, so now that our cover has also dried, we can start cutting that out and trimming off that mini paper that we've used for a liner. I'm just going to trim it off, and the front side might be a bit difficult where the flap is with all the curves, that sort of a scalloped pattern there. So just take your time, and I'm going to use some ink around the edges as well, just a light ink. I don't want to spoil the bright blue color, and I don't have a blue that really matches that, but I'm going to use some brown and some dark blue here and there. You can distress the edges a bit with a scissor or a tool that's specifically for that if you want to, but that's completely optional. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and just ink the edges a bit as well, just to hide some of that white parts, and just trim wherever I see it still needs to be trimmed. And just make it real pretty. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go and fold this properly again, just to fold the mini paper that we've glued on, so that I don't get any sort of creases in my folds. I'm just going to do it properly with my just with my ruler and just scoring it a bit again. So now I can just fold it into a box shape again, so make sure it's all good, and I'm happy with that. So what we can do next is we can glue our journal onto the cover. So just make sure you got the journal the right way up, and then we're going to glue the back of the journal onto that middle panel of the cover. So it's going to be stuck on completely with that back glue flap that we've glued onto the back of the page. So it's just going to lie completely flat in our cover. So make sure you get your glue all the way to the edges. Again, we're going to make sure that we don't get any glue on our pages, and we're going to glue that flat in, and we're going to make sure that we let this dry properly before we carry on with anything else. So you'll see here I've got already a bunch of pockets cut out, and again, if you're using the the freebie, you might have less items than what is shown here, but you will still have enough to work with. So I'm gonna go ahead and start gluing in the pockets and just playing around with my little journal and see what I want to do with it. I've inked my edges, and now I'm gonna use the very first pocket I've picked on the cover, on the blank cover on the left hand side. I'm going to try and use this tape. I'm not sure if it's going to work very well on the small glue flaps of the pocket, but let's see how it goes. Otherwise I'll switch back to my glue stick. So you're going to place your glue, whichever glue you're using, or your double-sided tape, onto the glue flaps of each pocket. You're going to fold them in and you're going to glue it in place. So as I said, I'm doing this first one on the cover. Otherwise you'll just have a blank space there. But of course you can decorate it. You don't have to put a pocket. And depending on the glue that you're using, make sure that you let them dry properly before using them again. Yeah, that looks so cute. You'll see here I've already cut out all my cards and those long strips that are like almost like bookmarks, or you can make tags out of them. And I'm also going to decorate some of them. I've cut out the other cards and some fussy cuts as well. There's a whole bunch of things you can work with in the full kit. In the freebie there's a bit less, but you can still have many options for decoration in the freebie as well. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'll just show you some examples of placing pockets and using the fussy cuts and the cards and all that to decorate. And of course you have some words as well that you can use. You can ink the edges, again that's optional, but it does really make everything pop and stand out if you do that. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and do all of them so that I've got them ready to go. And I see my pocket lifted up, so I just re-glued that and put some paper clamps, don't know what you really call them, clips, just to hold that in place a bit. And now I'm just going to play around and see what I want to do for this first page that is essentially like the cover of your little mini journal. I think I'm just going to go with some florals and the word journal. So whenever you're unsure of what to do, just play around with your elements that you've cut out already and just have fun and see what looks good. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Whatever looks good to you, just go with that. Okay, so I'm happy with what I'm going to do, so I'll start gluing them down. And again, I'm just using my glue stick for this. You can use your preferred glue. So I'm just layering some floral fussy cuts and my journal word. When you are decorating like this, just make sure you don't go over the page width, because on this particular design there's not a lot of space on the around the edges of the journal. Basically the cover fits around the journal pretty much exactly, so don't go over your page or it will be scrunched up when you close your cover. Okay, so I'm happy with this and it looks so cute. So that's my little cover done. And now I will carry on to do the rest of the pockets and pages and decorate some cards. I'm just gonna continue on placing pockets and decorating and then tucking things into the pockets. So you're welcome to stop the video here and be sure to check out my Etsy store for more beautiful items to make. You can continue watching if you want to see how I decorate. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.